This podcast is brought to you by Most Valuable Podcasts, leading the league in podcasting entertainment.
What's up? Real MVPs, Ricky Widmer here, and welcome into... I almost went into the heel talk. Welcome my Hulkamania, where the Hulkamaniacs at? The Mega Powers. Yeah, but I can't do that for every podcast, or else I would go absolutely nuts. Welcome into the draft room. I'm joined, first time, long time. First time, long time for the draft room. Dave and I did a Bulls podcast not too long ago.
Facts.
But Dave Oster here on the draft room. Dave, last time we did a draft room for the NBA, June 19th, 2023. Days before the actual draft.
Are you bleeping kidding me right now?
Oh, do I have to write that down?
I didn't want to open up the show with one of those, make you do extra work right now. We'll get there. But June 20th?
June 19th.
June 19th.
Draft was June 22nd. We just looked it up beforehand. I got a question for you to start the show before we get into housekeeping and everything. Kind of get the juices flowing. Why did the NBA go 2 days? I learned that this week, and I was like, why? Who cares enough about the second round to tune in a new day?
This guy.
You and Jake are the only two.
It's for draft sickos. It's absolutely for draft sickos, but more honestly, it is for those who want to see trades happen, because NBA front offices want to trade second rounders more than anything else in the world. Because of the way contracts are being changed and structured in the second round, there was that change that happened, I think, last year when the new CBA was signed, where a handful of picks in the second round had different contract options. And now that player control totally messes with things going forward. And the value of those early second rounders has never been higher. And just being able to move around those second round picks is massive.
And you can't do that in one night.
Not when the pick timer is like a minute and a half. Like it feels like those are like rapid fire for round two, which is insane. And also, can we just admit that most years, the NBA draft feels like there's way too many players and not enough spots on teams.
Yeah, and that's why
coming in the league year over year just keeps getting better.
And that's why it. So that's why the second thing I heard, which is absurd, Jake said that they're thinking about adding a third round of the NBA draft.
I think it'll be like a 1 year thing,
which would be absurd
for the expansion year. I think it might be an expansion year thing.
But Dave refers to the topic of our podcast. We'll get to that in one second.
Nice little teaser for it.
You did. It's in the biz, what we call a tease here.
Still got it.
But before we get into everything, quick housekeeping, fairly simple, nothing new here. Number one, Discord, join the greatest community in the universe, the MVP Discord. That link is down below. Talk to everybody in the MVP metaverse universe, the MVPU,
we're not metaverse.
the MVPU, whatever you want to call it. That's what we got down below. Everyone talking about the things we love in one little compact spot. If you want to support us, patreon.com is how you can do that, or become a channel member. Both those links are down below as well. Also, we've got BETUS sponsoring, giving our listeners, viewers, 125% of a bonus. You'll hear about more of that later, though. That link down below. You can also, listeners, watch us on YouTube or catch us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify as well. And I think that is all. Usually I forget one thing in there. Oh, comment down below. That's the thing I forgot this time. There's so much jumbled in this head that there's always one thing in housekeeping that gets kind of like forgotten, and I remember it at the end. Comment down below. Let us know what you guys think about anything we talk about today. But Dave, the question of this podcast, the topic, a little clickbaity. I'm gonna be upfront, a little clickbaity, but there's a reason why we ask it, and I'm gonna ask it the exact way I'm gonna title it on YouTube for you. It's gonna say 2024 NBA draft. Does this draft class or does this class suck? And here's the reason why I asked this question. Usually I just ask the question and let you answer, but this one needs a little bit of framework.
Thank you.
The reason why I ask this is I was chilling with two of our close friends during the Discord, Retro and Jake, and they were talking about the draft class. And Jake made a point that made me think, I've always heard people say, this class sucks. This class sucks. And Retro's on the side of, no, this class doesn't suck. So I want to make sure that he is properly represented, because he does not fall into that negative side. But Jake brought up a point, and he's talking about potential here. not just what they are coming out, but potential. He said usually in a draft, there's at least one guy for sure, but probably two. You think back, DeAndre Ayton, Luka, Zion, Ja Morant. I'm
just saying in both, like,
Dave was right. We get it. You were right. But in both of those examples, and there's many more, there's usually two guys that you can make a case for being the number one overall pick in that class.
Yeah, I mean, we had the whole
Lonzo
Ben
Markel,
Simmons.
Jason
Tatum. Ben Simmons was you, me, and Sean. I remember way back in the day, man.
Yeah. I can't remember who we were arguing for number two. I probably threw anyone out there because I hated Ben Simmons.
Yeah, it was Brandon Ingram, man. Can't go wrong with Brandon Ingram.
But he says that usually there's one or two that you're like, boom, one of those is the number one pick. And then he goes off of potential, usually in the top 5, top 10. There's a good plethora of guys where you're like, these guys might not be superstars, but will at least be stars in the league. And this draft maybe seems to not have any. Do they have any, Dave? That's the framework. It seems like right now there's 5 guys that could go number one in the top 10. I don't even know how many people could go in the top 10 based on who you like here and there. Based on the parameters of, we don't have 2 guys that are number one. We don't have a plethora of stars people are saying at the top. Does this draft class suck?
I think no. I think it's incredibly short-sighted to say it sucks. It feels like and no offense to people who have that opinion. I want to say that out front because this is the bless your heart. I'm just going to say with all due respect, you're stupid. Mm-hmm. There you go. Just had to get that one out there. I just had
passionate, Dave, very passionate.
Well, here's the thing. If you don't enjoy watching basketball, then yeah, this class sucks. There's no just quick look at that guy. Everybody can see exactly who should be taken at the top of the draft class. Mm-hmm. This class requires a little bit of thought, a little bit of effort, a little bit of work put in to understand how these guys are going to fit right and where you can project them out to, because it's not, like you said, you don't have that insane athlete at the top of the draft class. You have a bunch of guys who can do some things really well. Some guys have like a couple tools here or there, and you kind of have to blur your vision a little bit and be like, if I think real hard about it, maybe he could grow that extra skill. Maybe he could become that 5-tool kind of player for my team in the future. But there's nobody on paper right now who is like checks every single box for every single thing. There is no perfect prospect in this class. I'll give you that. But there's a lot of really good ones and a lot of interesting guys who can kind of fill holes in rosters for people. Superstar potential, I think that's kind of a BS term, because if you look at the draft classes of the past, and now I wish I had that up. Like, do you have? I'm going to pull up the last couple of years. I'm
pulling them up. That's what I'm doing right now.
Draft 2020.
Are you looking for number one picks?
No, I just want to see out of the lottery. Like, if we go back to, I usually use Basketball Reference.
How many years back do you want me to look? Because I've got 10 years open up.
Jesus.
Well,
let's say looking at this past year, Victor looks like a star. No argument there.
Yeah. He was also the if de facto number one.
Correct. Because you just don't make 7'4" guys who look and move like him. I say that because there's a 7'4" guy in this draft class who does not look and or move like him. Sorry, Zach Edey, you will not be drafted in the top of this draft class. But you look at that group and you go, okay, in the lottery, 1 through 14, one guy. You got one guy who is a superstar.
Scoot. I would say people are putting
Scoot came off to a start. He looked like ass, and it's part coaching, part grouping, and also like he had a rough start just outright. He was not able to score well. He was not able to get to the hoop and convert. He had the injury where he had to get used to wearing the goggles again too. So like they're not again, but he had to get used to wearing goggles like for his own vision. So like there was just a lot of things that contributed to him with a very slow start.
But I'm saying with Scoot is I feel like there were people. There was that conversation of at the end, people tried to push the Brandon Miller in there.
Scoot should have been too. Well, as it looks like right now, Scoot wouldn't go 5.
Well, I mean, he's been injured too, and I know injuries.
And he's coming back now. Like that's the thing. He's strung together.
I'll be honest. He looked good against the Sixers. There was especially one play he did a baseline dunk where I was like, I wish he was on the Bulls.
He absolutely has skills. There's no argument here. But I'm saying superstar. You have one. one in your entire lottery.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but we were even saying last year was kind of a weak. Like last thing I remember, we were saying last year was kind of a weak class.
So you go back another year. You got Paolo, you got Chet.
There's your 2 stars. There's your 2 superstars. Like
that's it. I mean, like Jalen Williams could be one day, maybe. Shaden Sharp looks like he's got the potential to be that guy, but he was a mystery box coming into the draft.
Mm-hmm.
So that's it. Lotto wise, like we all think Cade Cunningham might not be that guy anymore. Jalen Green, outside of the last 6 games, has been a pretty big disappointment for a lot of fans out there.
Mm-hmm.
Evan Mobley has seemingly got stuck in sand, not counting the fact he's injured. Scotty Barnes stepped up, sure, but superstar? No.
Mm-hmm.
No, I mean, like, that entire group, who are you going to put as a superstar? Franz?
So then pretty much what you're saying is we haven't had
on a great year.
We haven't had this since the 2020 draft.
I'm just saying, yeah, because I mean, like, look, LaMelo Ball,
Ant.
I don't know if he is or isn't. Ant for sure is. Ant has an it factor to him. So, like, yeah, I think that. But then you keep going down, you go, okay, the rest of the draft, Tyrese Halliburton.
At 12.
So you got 2 that year. Yeah, you got 2. 2 in the lotto. So I would say a good year, you'd have 2. A bad year, you could have 0 or 1. Like, that just is what it is. I think people who are like, having none is ridiculous. No, there are years where you just don't see it because there's guys later in the draft class who happen to pop off. You know, look at right now. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was late lotto. Like, Giannis Antetokounmpo, guess what? He wasn't drafted first. He wasn't even top 10. So, like, there are guys you see on paper who just have it day one, and that's it. Great for them. Other guys, not so much.
Well, and I think the whole, like, okay, so the superstar thing,
yep.
I'm going to like, for me personally, I'd backtrack off of that, where the one big criticism I have of this draft class is the just number 1, number 2 of there's no, really even at number 1, there's no solidified guy at number 1 where it's like, if I go back, we already mentioned Victor. He was solidified at number 1 pretty much the whole year.
Before the season started.
Paolo, it was Paolo, Chet, but let's be honest. Most people were saying Paolo number 1 draft or number 1 pick. Cade, he was the number 1 guy pretty much start to end, is from what I remember. 2020, you had the debate.
Yep.
It was pretty much solidified as Ant. Then Ant had the character issues come out against him. There were people like you and I that had LaMelo Ball at number 1. Yeah. That was probably the one where it's like, okay, we had 3 guys at the time that could have gone 1.
For sure.
In 2019, most people had Zion the whole year. Ja also very like Ja at 2 was like getting a number 1 quality player at 2.
Absolutely.
We had a 1-2.
Unfortunately, number 3 was RJ.
I mean, 2019 had the guy in Luka. The Suns just didn't want to take him for some reason. I bet you. Here's the thing: are the Suns?
No, not just the Suns.
Well, and the Kings too, but like
and the Kings,
the Suns
and the Hawks.
Well, because the trade.
They traded out,
but they got Trae Young. They got Trae Young. But I like Trae Young back then.
That's 10 out of 10. You're not taking Trae Young over Luka Doncic.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing I ask, and I was going to ask is, do you think, knowing what we know now, where the Suns have the roster they have now, are they kicking themselves for not taking Luka? Could we have had Kevin Durant and Luka on the same team? Yeah. Does he still come? Well, yeah, he still comes because Luka's here. It's Luka, Devin Booker.
I don't know.
You're not having Bradley, like Bradley Beal's not getting traded here then because of contracts.
Right. Yeah, I mean, who knows? We're in a hypothetical world because who knows if they have Chris Paul on that team? You know, there's a lot of things that could have gone differently. Let's put it that way. But the point is, you take the best player, and that also has to consolidate into fit as well on the roster. But I think fit is something where it's weighed differently. You can't just say we're looking for fit because that sounds dumb on paper. Like, well, if there's a better player, you take the better player. But one of the biggest problems you see is like, if a guy doesn't have an opportunity to earn his, spot on the roster, get his minutes consistently, he's not going to develop the same. Look at this past year. The amount of guys in the first round who are spending a large amount of time in the G League is insane. It's unprecedented because of the way rosters are so stacked right now, even with the expansion of like more two-way spots, 17-man roster. Doesn't matter. Like, look at the Jazz. have you heard Taylor Hendricks get minutes much? Because he scrapes by with a couple minutes here and there, but for the most part, he was G League for the first 2 months.
Nobody had what's his name? I can't think of his name. Fontanelli or Fontanello or whatever. It starts with an F. First name starts with an S. Second name starts with an F. It's some Italian name. I can't think of the dude's name because I don't watch Jazz basketball religiously, but I've bet on him enough to at least know what his name sounds like. Did anyone expect him to get major minutes at the beginning of the year? I didn't, but I'm not like I would consider myself a basketball savant.
I gotta look up his name now.
You do, because I can picture the name, but I can't say it from the top of my head. Him and Lowry kind of switch off at the power.
Simone, I can't pronounce that either.
Yeah, tell me about it. Yeah, tell me you can pronounce it, and I'm doing it without looking at it.
Yeah, I'm not even gonna try to butcher that one. Utah Jazz fans, don't worry about me.
But you know who I'm talking about. Did anyone expect him to be a main starter at the beginning of the year?
Well, he could shoot.
Maybe some Jazz fans will sit there and say yes, but let's be honest, you're kidding yourself.
But for a team who drafted Keontae George and Taylor Hendricks, like we got a little bit of peak.
Yeah.
We get a little peak.
I'm going to ask this, though, because this just popped into my mind. You brought up the G League.
Yep.
Is the problem that we're seeing, because like now that I'm looking back and you went through some of the draft classes, I'm going to say pretty much maybe 2020, probably even 2019. Yeah, I'm going to say 2019 is the last draft class where we saw guys outside the top 2 as stars, where there were people that loved Darius Garland. There were people that were like, I'm Kobe White fans. There, Cam Reddish, Rui Hachimura. Like, that was you. There were guys there were like Tyler Hero fans, PJ Washington fans, like individual like cult followers.
I was a Sabonis fan.
People. Yeah, exactly.
Way back. You go way back. I was rooting for Sabonis to go way higher, and still
getting to see him play live too. I believe was he there when we were there?
That's literally why Sabonis was like my favorite player. I got to see him live.
But like, so that means the last 4 draft classes, this is 5. And like you bring up pretty much since what? The 2021 draft class, we've had the G League Ignite team.
Yes.
Is it because when I think superstar, yes, talent is a part of it. Mm-hmm. But being a superstar is also based on how popular you are.
Oh, yeah. There's a marketability factor to it. And you have to be that person publicly.
And is the problem that all these guys are getting spread out? You got international, you have G League, you have college, you have some guys who aren't even going to any of them and are playing somewhere else. Is it basically the issue of, let's be honest, fans here in America, and I'm not going to say, like there's fans like you, Dave, where you're digesting all of it. And I'm going to say that
an unhealthy amount of basketball.
Well, I'm going to even say you're different because there's basketball fanatics and then there's people who want to make it their job to be a scout or to be a draft room expert. And it's like, even if you're a basketball fanatic, okay, those people probably watch all of it. They're looking up streams of international basketball. They're watching G League games. But then there's people who I would say I kind of fit more with, and it's the basketball casuals. Now, I'm not exactly a casual because I have to do research for the show, whatever we talk about. I love looking at the draft. I love watching college basketball. But it's like the dudes that are just gonna, hey, I'll catch a college basketball game on Saturday when they got like the big Duke North Carolina matchups. Yeah,
when you get matchups all day, like it is kind of fun. It's very enjoyable to just sit there and just go.
Is it a problem that these players? It used to be international college, now it's that some of these big players are going to play in the G League, and not everyone watches the G League. It's like the basketball fanatics follow, but that casual audience has not followed. And then let's break off casuals from, let's be honest, there's a disconnect because then there's basketball casuals and then college diehards where it's like, I just watch college basketball, and that when they go to the NBA, I don't like them in the NBA anymore. And they went to my school, so I'm going to like, you know what I mean? Like there's college basketball fanatics too. So it's like, because they're not all getting funneled into college, is that really hurting their popularity coming in to where it's like really only the basketball fanatics are the ones that get to see everybody and are like, these are the guys like that you should get hyped about.
Yeah, I mean, it's not easy to find all the streams for the lower European leagues. It's not easy to watch an NBA.
And then what time they also play on.
Yeah, I say the timing matters because you have the NBL going on across the world from us. So no, it is a large time commitment to be able to see all that stuff. And even if you're watching it later, like trying to find a YouTube stream or recording of a game that happened in, let's say, Lithuania, like. Yeah, the quality of that camera, you're getting 360p from 2006, maybe. So it makes watching a little bit.
It's like the guy in 2005 sitting in the back of the movie theater with the camcorder, like down low.
That's the best you get. Like, it's like, what decade are we in right now? So yeah, it's not always feasible for people to watch all the stuff. And you're right, spreading out talent across the world is kind of something that makes it harder for sure. But like at the same time, it's more opportunities for guys than ever. The weird thing is like, with NIL money, I feel like the G League Ignite is becoming less of a good opportunity for a lot of these kids. Like if you look back, you're like, all right, well, how many guys in the G League Ignite really improved the draft stock by that much during their time there? Because it feels like most held steady or maybe fell. And if they had gone to college, got the actual mainstream media following them, like you said before we talked about this, like media in the NBA, media in college, is so much stronger than it is for the G League. The G League is an afterthought of an afterthought. Like it's not even whatever. So, and everybody just on their gameplay because it's like, hey, look, nobody plays defense. They're going up against guys who are older than them. There's no, schemes or whatever. And it just gets talked down. Leonard Miller had a fantastic year last year and still went so late in the draft. It blew my mind. So, like, what do you see? And I think the problem is people just don't see.
Well, I'm just going to cut you off. First off, I'm going to say for the listeners and viewers out there, I was just texted that dinner is done. So that means my dog is going to become unbearable. So you're going to see faces that I make that look like I'm mad at Dave. I'm not mad at Dave. I'm frustrated because my dog can't. I love Buddy, but he just doesn't shut up. Whenever food is around, he can't shut up. And I get that's what dogs do, but this is not that therapy session. What I was going to say with what you were saying is that's the thing that I also like look at when you say the G League. I'm also bringing in a separate conversation that Retro Jake and I had where I think it was Jake or Retro that brought up of like the NBA media sucks. He's like, it's horrible because the NBA media, no matter what it is, they want to just talk about the same 3 or 4 teams all year. The Suns, the Warriors, the Lakers. It's like, he said right now, the T-Wolves and the Thunder should be getting way more coverage than they are because they're number 1 and number 2 in the Western Conference, but nobody wants to talk about them. The G League, let's be completely honest. Like, now the G League is kind of interesting because like Jake compared it to NFL media where like when the Texans got good, things like Good Morning Football and stuff were like, oh, we're going to talk about CJ Stroud. We're going to talk about the Texans. Do you think the Lions, if the Lions were an NBA team, do you think they would get covered? No, they'd be like the Thunder. It'd be like, wow, this team could go to the finals. Well, we're not going to talk about them until they do.
Well, I mean, to their own problem. And I do agree with the point, but the NFL is literally covered by like ESPN in the worst way because it is just Dallas Cowboys, Dallas Cowboys, Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, but
like,
you don't have just ESPN. You have NFL. NFL Network is way better than NBA Network.
Exactly. That's what I'm. I totally agree. So like you have to kind of find people who are going to support your sport, and I think that's cool that like there's options out there for the NFL, and I wish the NBA had those equal options.
Give me 1 second.
You're totally fine.
So
I can keep talking about how I think those options.
I want to pull the fourth wall back. We're recording this on Friday today. So SmackDown's tonight, and I know Jake's watching, and he just texted me at this point in the podcast. It's about 9:00 end of the show. He said, Ricky, and I had to text him, don't spoil, because I want to go back and watch it. Because I want to see what it is. It's now based on his next tweet or next text. He said, I'll be waiting for a victory lap. I'm assuming Cody chose Roman, but I'm hoping like it's something big. But that's just what went down right there. So It's just like going with the media discussion though. It's like, is that a problem with like the G League of like maybe if NBA media, and I say NBA media, I mean like NBA TV, if they covered it, maybe the G League, I'll be honest, it's a thing that's never going to happen. But what I think should happen is, so I'm going to pitch this out right here. The NBA wants to be a worldwide league, right? Like it wants to have that worldwide. And it's kind of like everything I've seen from the in-season tournament to just other things that have been pitched. They're like, wow, they're really trying to be like what European soccer is, where it's almost like a year-round thing. Hi, everybody. Just want to take a quick moment out of today's podcast to tell you about our sponsor for today, BETUS, a sports book that has it all, whether it's basketball, hockey, football, soccer, whatever you like to bet on, BETUS has you covered. And they are offering our viewers and listeners today a 125% sign-up bonus just for using our link down below in the description. So go ahead, use that link down below and get your 125% sign-up bonus, BETUS. And now, let's get back to the podcast. I take that and go, great. What we should do, make the G League its own league with ownership. No, I'm saying with individual owners, with individual teams. Then adding on a third round makes sense because the third round could be the G League.
Yep.
And basically what I would then implement, and people have called me crazy, but I would love to see it, Dave.
Because it's 10-year plan. I already know it's coming.
I would totally get behind this. Relegation.
Yep.
We could actually do relegation. And I know people are saying, well, Ricky, that'll never work. The G League team will just get called up and get called down right away. Yeah, but you think they said that a million years ago when the EPL was getting made? Like, oh, this will never work? Like, it forces you to get better and it forces you to stay good if you want to be in the NBA. Because let's be honest, the end of the East, I watched a Piston game the other day, and like it stinks when Jake has got to be like, "Oh, we got to watch. The Pistons are gonna win." It's like that. You do
kind of want to watch that. It is an opportunity.
We shouldn't be like that. It should just be like, "Wow, this is a good game." It shouldn't be like, "Wow, that is bad basketball. I'm just not gonna watch." Like there's gonna be bad teams, but there are just abysmal teams in the East. Agreed. Washington, I'm looking at you too. Don't think you ain't catching the stray.
15 years out from having relegation. It's not.
You think it's happening?
I think it will. Okay. I think Adam Silver sees the bigger picture. He is
I would love
a thinker like that. And I think that, presence-wise, they're great. And to the G League's credit, they are trying to like pump out more content and material. Their YouTube channel is growing. They got more interviews now for like the Young Ignite team, which is great. The whole piece they did for Amazon, where they had a series. I can't remember the name of the series, but on Amazon, very interesting to watch. Highlight some personnel in the G League, their stories, how they got there, what they're doing, different parts of their careers. They have to keep working at it,
Destination.
But I do. Thank you.
Destination NBA G League Odyssey is the full name.
The whole place where we started with this rabbit hole was the guys going to the G League are doing themselves a disservice by not being able to get covered at the same level. And the money that they were, it was touted as, hey, it's a money-making opportunity for you to get a head start. Now with NIL, not really. And so what are you getting? You're playing against older competition and you're playing a more pro-style game, but you have less eyes on you. Even though you're closer to organizations, you're somehow getting less eyes on you and you're getting less coverage and you're getting maybe judged unfairly because you're going up against this competition. And you're like the rosters. I know college rosters aren't exactly the most well-built thing in the world, but you could see at least an idea. The G League roster literally had to go out and sign like 2 guys in their late 30s because they didn't have a point guard. How do you have a like Norris Cole point guard? That was their option. They went out and got like David Stockton for a hot minute, and that didn't work. And like, no,
he was at Gonzaga, right? Because
years ago, sure, he's like 30 now.
Yeah, I'm saying not. Is he really? I remember when little Stockton wasn't he at Gonzaga and they always showed his dad in the stands?
I know they did, yeah.
Because John was always there. Is little Stockton
he's
really
32?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So my point being, the roster construction this year was awful for them.
Mm-hmm.
So like the roster, just for those of you who don't know,
Mm-hmm.
Ron Holland was a top prospect coming in this class. Big
Yeah.
wing. Great for him. Athletic. Uber crazy in transition. Modest Buzelis. Big wing. Great handler. Love to see it out there, but not a point guard still. Tyler Smith. Big wing. We missing something yet?
Mm-hmm.
Ethan Almanza. Center. Just old school pick and roll machine out there. Soft touch. Great. Thierry Darlin. Guess what? We got another wing. We don't really have a ball handler, do we? We don't have a primary point guard who can distribute the ball, run an offense. Like, these kids came here for a pro-style setup and got no benefit from it. So instead, they all looked much worse out the gates because they had to figure out how to handle the ball without a point guard, truly. So, like, the G League Ignite can be beneficial, but so far it seems like it is at best a wash and at worst hurting draft stock. So I think with the coverage, the situation, and the money, it's a failure right now. And that's why I think like college, great. Go overseas, play in Europe, great. The NBL seemingly a better opportunity as well because better run teams, minutes are a little harder down there, as we'll talk about with prospects like Alex Sarr, Bobby Klintman, and Trenton Flowers, but even AJ. But like the whole point is, at least they are traditional, programs, whereas the Ignite is this like clown show circus at times, which is unfortunate for them.
Well, and I was just looking.
Yeah.
Like as you're talking, I'm listening and I'm looking at Tankathon right now, and I'm literally looking at it right now.
Sure.
And I'm sitting there and I'm going, okay, their top 6 might be different than your top 6.
Oh yeah.
But like, I just look at their top 6.
Yep.
They have Sarr, international.
Yep.
Topic, international.
Yep.
Worcestershire Sauce, international.
Zachary Richechet.
Walter, Baylor.
Jacoby.
Holland, G League.
Yep.
Matas.
G League.
Is that the problem? Did we just through this conversation, did we just find the problem that does this draft class suck? Maybe not. But is it that 6 of the top 5 in one of these big boards? 5 of the top 6, dyslexia kicking in.
You're good.
5 of the top 6 names that I listed, only one of them came from a league. I'm going to call college a league here that the majority of basketball fans, entire spectrum, watch.
All right. NBA home. Are you on their big board?
Yeah, I'm on their big board. They got Sarr, Topic, Worcestershire Sauce, Walter, Holland, Matas.
Yeah, that's painful.
Yeah.
And you're saying is the problem that...
Well, is it just we found that this class might not suck? It's just that the top of this class, 5 of 6 of them are coming from a league that, let's be honest, the majority of basketball fans, from casual to I watch everything and don't miss a beat, most of them top to bottom, college would be the one that I think is most watched.
It's most watched for sure.
Across the entire spectrum, is that one of those 6 players comes from that and the rest come from the other 2.
But and that's totally true. And it's a slight disadvantage, but at the same time, the international leagues are closer to the level of competition of the NBA. So
yeah, but I'm not saying that.
Okay.
I'm saying
my whole point is, go ahead.
I'm just saying that most of the fans of basketball as a whole are not watching, so they won't know that.
Right. And jumping off of that, because they're not watching international play, they don't know how good it is, and they don't understand why NBA teams are valuing international players who are playing in professional leagues versus kids playing basketball at school.
Yeah.
They don't understand that, hey, high level of competition playing against grown men versus children playing at school. Like, there's just a different level of assurance in the players coming from those leagues. And I get it. You don't want, like, there's always going to be hesitation about, like, will it translate over? Like, how come that's never a question in college here? Like, it's because the athleticism is a different world when it comes from college basketball versus any of the leagues in Europe, to be honest. But at the same time, outside of that athleticism difference, no, that everything else is just better overseas. Unfortunately,
are we then?
college team. You run them overseas. We see the tournaments against the minor leagues overseas, and it's always fun to watch. But there's always a weird level of competition where it's just they're not really that good.
Yeah, but
they'll bat off wins still, but it's not same,
Are we then? I'm going to piggyback off it though. Are we then entering or have entered, and we're starting to see it? This is just what the modern day draft class is going to be, where it's the time before. And I say that because really looking back, and like we said, 2020, 2019 were probably the last two where we saw that dominant top of the class too.
Yeah.
We've had then 3 or 4 years go by to where are we just now in the, hey, this is how it's going to be, where unless you're watching everything, guys aren't going to be as hyped up as they were in the past, because the majority, because I'm going to say this, and this is whether you agree or disagree, there's a part of me that feels like the casual basketball base, that there is more people in that base than the basketball fanatic base.
Yeah. No, it's just,
and I don't know if that's just me, generality, or if more people are casuals than fanatics.
Absolutely, more people are casuals by a large. It would be 95-5.
Yeah,
would be my guess. But to counter your point, we do have some generational level talent coming in the next couple of years.
Okay,
it's not even fun. Cooper Flagg, Ace Bailey.
Okay,
next year, just incredible talent.
So Victor guys, because obviously Victor played overseas. Most people
Victor's a little different because nobody's 7'4".
Yeah,
like that. But talent wise, yes.
Or and then Luka played overseas, but everyone knew who Luka was.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he was basically the chosen one. I mean, when you win an MVP of a professional league at age 17, you'd think. But then the following year, you got AJ and Cam Boozer. Literally, the next 2 years have two guys at the top who are already him. So it's just a year where there's not that guy who's known. I think this is we want to overreact now because we feel that way. Just because on paper it is so blatantly obvious that those 4 guys over the next 2 years will absolutely be expected to go top. The problem is Isaiah Collier was supposed to be that guy this year. Ron Holland's supposed to be that guy this year.
But USC just sucks.
USC sucks. Isaiah Collier is not who we thought he would be. It's unfortunate, prospects. You look at the guys who are ranked, 247.
Yeah,
I know a lot of people use ESPN. A lot of people use 247.
I love
Bronny James was supposed to be a top prospect. Guess what? If he doesn't have a heart condition, who knows where he's at in college? Yeah. He's still coming back from that, having some mid performances would be my nice way to say it. He had a great game facilitating last night. Got some fouls, played some tough defense. There's things about that are good, but you can't say that if we had Isaiah Collier and Bronny James lighting up, we would be having this conversation. The best U.S. prospect right now is Cody Williams. It's not even close. And guess what? We only really knew about Cody Williams because of J-Dub. Yeah. We have Jalen Williams in the NBA killing it on the Thunder right now. And his little brother just happens to be slightly bigger version, slightly more agile out there, can attack the rim really well. And he has the benefit of being the younger brother. He doesn't do everything as good as Jalen, obviously, but there's the upside. There's a huge upside with this kid. So as far as guys who are next up, it feels like he is by far and away the best U.S. talent right now. We'll have to wait and see. We got another month and a half still of college basketball, so I don't want to crown anybody, but it does seem like, he's kind of surpassed all the expectations at the top of the charts.
Do you think, and this is just me spitfiring here, just thought comes in, it comes out.
Yep.
Do you think it's a negative that I want to say they're still number one. I got to double check because they change every week. That a team they're not number one anymore. They're number 2. That a team like Purdue, team that everyone's getting behind, could finally win it all. Is it a negative that their best player is Zach Edey, who is not a top prospect?
No, I think that the one thing that doesn't really seem to matter is translating in college. Top players are top players, and how the program doesn't really matter as much. You don't see the best player in college often be the best pro. That's
but with the popularity part, usually it's maybe it can boost the draft class's popularity if let's say Zach Edey was a top 10 prospect, people would think of the draft class differently because it's like, oh, number 2 team, top 10 prospect. Like, look at Zach Edey. We're not having that conversation, obviously.
Yeah, well, tell Duke to figure their out. Tell Kentucky to figure their out. Like, the Blue Bloods right now are the ones who are making the league look bad because they get top prospects. We got 4 guards, 4 guards at Kentucky. The 2 best guards are coming off the bench.
Hey, man, Duke's going through a transitional period right now.
Oh, my God. Nope, don't do it, Dave. Don't do it. Don't besmirch Duke.
Don't do it. Do it. Who cares?
Talk a whole lot of about their poorly run, poorly coached program right now. But Rob Dillingham and Reed Shepherd, by far, the better players on that, the better guards, the better duo. Like, both of those guys are top 10 talents in this class. Likely, a lot of worst case.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of people who are like, Rob Dillingham should be the number 1 overall prospect. And there's a chance it could happen. Like, this is a la 2013 where there's like 8 guys right now, 10 guys right now who could go number 1.
Was that
like
the Anthony Bennett draft class?
Yes. Yeah, that's why I bring it up.
I didn't want to bring it up because in the past I've been told I bring it up too much.
Well, it's been a hot minute, so maybe those people forgot about it. I'll remind them that Anthony Bennett did come out of left field. There was no number 1 locked in throughout that whole season.
Because of the tournament.
I was just, yes, that's why he elevated. But even it was the measurables, it was a workout, it was all this stuff. But this class, no one has had an outstanding performance that separated themselves from the pack quite yet. Cody is close at the top in my mind. Zachary Risache is shooting lights out in Europe, but nobody knows if that's for sure. Alex Sarr, his shot seemingly is not consistently there from the outside. So while defensively he looks great, offensively we might have jumped the gun from those early games in the year, especially the NBA G League Ignite Showcase against Perth. Topic injured. Like, he was doing so well for Mega, and then they promoted him, and then he got hurt in like his second game. So like, we will have to wait and see on that one. So that the hype at the top is kind of like everybody's got a butt, and that's sort of where we're at right now. So you don't want to. Yeah,
I got another question for you. And this is just spitballing. Looking at the 2013 class, they're obviously going to be drafted at different spots.
Totally, every class is redrafted different.
But could a Sarr or a Topic or a Reichesher sauce, could one of those 3, let's say they're like drafted top 3, could it be a la Giannis or Gobert or Schroeder, where it's like, those are the guys I'm looking at, international guys from that year, who Giannis, superstar, mega star in the league, NBA champion, Rudy Gobert,
the best player,
very good defensively, seems to just be handed the award. He seems to be handed the award sometimes when he doesn't deserve it. He should have a couple, and then
he should have a couple more.
I think that he should.
He is the best defensive player in the last 20 years.
I'm not saying he's not good defensively. I'm just saying there have been some years where I feel like he shouldn't have won it.
Over who?
That's all I'm saying. I would have to look back. I know there's been years where I'm like, he shouldn't have won defensive player this year.
Yes.
That's why I say it. And then Dennis Schroeder, who's like, at this point in his career, he's like old, let's be honest, 10-year pro. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's still in the league, like contributing. So it's like, could these 3, obviously they'll be drafted higher than the 3 I mentioned, but like, we're looking 10 years from now, if we're in 2034, and we're like, you know what? Those 3, they've had a pretty, like, we got a star out of one of them. Like, that's a win, right?
Absolutely. That's huge.
Who do you think the star's going to be out of them?
I know who. Out of this group?
No, out of the 3 that I mentioned, the 3 international guys. Sarr, Topic, and Reichesher sauce.
I like Nikola Topic.
I know you do. I just want to get that tape.
I really do. Shocker. But even going back just a couple years, like, I was pounding the table for Şengün.
Yeah.
I mean, from the beginning of the year, I had the guy in my top 5. I wouldn't give it up. And guess what? We're 3 years. Is this year 3, right, for him?
I don't know. I'm not a Şengün.
Let's see. Yeah, because it's him and Scotty Barnes, same class.
Are they?
Him, yeah. Yeah. The problem is...
Yeah, 2021.
winning the MVP of a league that is pretty good at basketball at age 18 somehow wasn't good enough to get this man drafted in a lottery, which again, insane, absolutely insane. And even after the year he had last year playing under basketball terrorist Steven Silas, people still were doubting him and saying, well, you can't build a franchise around this guy. He's too slow. He's not mobile enough. He can't play defense, all this stuff, just talking down on him. And guess what? Haters, just a bunch of haters out there, because he can do all those things and he just keeps getting better. And he's doing things at age 21 that guys haven't done before. So I think it's just a lot of the problem, like people are saying about this class, where projecting talent is hard to do when you don't see it jump out on you on paper. Like this class doesn't jump out at you. I don't know why it's so hard for me to say. Jump out at you. But there are guys here.
Let me begin.
Who absolutely have the ability to grow into superstars, and that's why I think Şengün will be in like 2 years. It's insane to me that he didn't get an All-Star this year with his stats, with how the Rockets are doing. So I really think that it's A, situational, but B, just insanely short-sighted to say that there won't be superstars coming out of this class, because it'll just take time to figure out. You got to sift through. You got to see, the little pieces of gold in the sand, as it were, in the dirt.
In the dirt.
Yeah, I'm thinking like old school gold miner kind of, old timey references here for some reason.
Before I make the comment I'm going to make, did they announce? I know we went back to the East-West format, but are there still captains of the All-Star team?
Still captains, yeah.
Is it still?
I think it's Giannis, LeBron.
Okay, so the comment I was going to make does fit. It's it's, and I don't even know why this popped in my head now. It's while you were talking.
Yeah, it is.
Why did it pop to my head? It popped to my head because, that's right, because you mentioned why Şengün didn't get an All-Star. I'm like, well, Dave, it's because, like, even though we got to change the format back to East-West because, people are tired about LeBron and Giannis being team captains, we just make it East-West, and who are the captains? LeBron and Giannis.
Yeah.
So it's like the All-Stars are all rigged. I'm at the point where All-Stars don't matter. It's a rigged game.
It's weird how you do that now.
The people who deserve to be there are not the ones that are there. Not all of them, but some cases.
But there are those fringe cases. Jalen Brunson not being a starter was just insanity after what he's been doing this year. There are always going to be those cases because guess what?
Star name over play.
Well, yeah, it's media controlled. So it's kind of weird how you look at that during a player's career, and you want to weigh it on like, well, that guy's got 8 All-Star games. Like, does that mean anything? Not as much as you used to. It sure feels like as we're getting older, the All-NBA teams feel like they mean more. Some other production pieces mean more than the votes that are done by ignorant people.
Like, I'm sorry, but like, I'm a Warriors fanboy, but I don't think Steph Curry deserves to be an All-Star this year. But based on how the Warriors have been, I'll be honest, in the East, I mean, Randall might.
Randall being an injured player.
I'm not saying he doesn't deserve the All-Star honor, but he's going to get replaced, obviously.
Well, yeah, because he's injured. Same with Embiid.
I look at these names and I'm just like, oh, you just picked the stars. Besides, like, Shea deserves it though. Shea's really good. Besides, like, Tyrese Maxey's the one I look at and go, he deserves to be there, but the media and stuff would not put him there unless he really, really deserved it.
Agreed. But again, that's sort of the whole case here. We're talking about media and draft prospects, and now we're talking about media in the NBA. Media, man. So no, to wrap this up into a nice little ball. No, this isn't a bad class. I don't think this class sucks at all. I think there's a bunch of guys with crazy upside in this class, but we don't quite know who's going to separate themselves out just yet.
Dave, I hate to do this, and the YouTube comment section might hate me.
Oh no.
I guess we'll find out by June 23rd, 22nd. I think it might be the 21st, around that time. We'll find out then if the draft class sucks. Hey, we may need a couple years to find out if this draft class sucks.
I think you do. Let me ask you this. When is the right time to do a redraft for a class? How many years must pass
3
before
years.
you get
3 full seasons?
Okay.
That's what I'm thinking. Like, 3 full seasons, wait for a play. Like, because let's be honest, like, Most players by that time, if they're 18, then they're like at least 2021 by that time. And if they're coming out at like 19, 20, they're by 22, 23.
Yeah.
So like I would say 3 full seasons is good. It's kind of like football too. Like when's a good time to evaluate a prospect? I don't know, after 3 years. Yeah. Some quarterbacks get to actually sit 2 years and then play. So we evaluate them in that 3rd season.
Man, 2020 was a
you talking about the ant year? That was the COVID year.
I'm looking at that class right now and going like, yeah,
that was also the draft class without a tournament. Remember that.
Yep. Edge's interesting picks, and then not as deep as you think it would be. Mm-hmm. But other times, no, some of these guys are still pretty good. So interesting.
But yeah, this is where I posed the question out to you guys. Does this draft class suck? What do you think? I want to hear.
Is there a name that stands out to you? Name your superstar.
I almost want to.
You made me name mine.
I almost want to say like, does this draft class suck? Wrong answers only.
Okay, let's go for it.
Sometimes I want some of those, but I really want to know what people think. So my brain just froze. The only thing I'm upset about is I'm an Illinois fanboy. You know that. And like, dude, I wish Coleman Hawkins was higher. He's just had a bad, like you said, we were talking beforehand. You're like, he didn't start showing up until TSJ was gone.
Yep.
And now TSJ is back, and it's like, is he gonna not show up anymore? And like,
it's middling. He was somebody who was supposed to be a early 2 to mid 2 after the combine last year. Came back to college, thought he'd be a first rounder because it's a weak year, right?
Yeah, and he's not.
That man has fallen. You said he was like 70 on a mock somewhere.
He was in the top 70, is what it said.
Remind me, how many picks were in the draft this year? 59? 58?
He's outside that.
A couple people lost, right?
Yeah.
Or is this a full? I always forget which teams lost.
They better be doing. Oh, you were talking about forfeited picks.
Yeah.
I have no idea how many teams forfeited picks.
I mean, Tankathon probably should have it. Mock draft.
That's why when you said full, I was like,
two forfeited draft picks. Sixers and Suns.
He might get a camp signing though, right?
Sure.
Maybe.
Or he come back for his senior season, right?
Good point.
He's got one more year eligibility.
Can only do that. Let's be honest. He could be like the dude on the Miami Hurricane football team. 9th season of eligibility.
There you go. Yeah.
9 seasons of eligibility, Dave.
He's going to look great in Europe.
He's a pro. He's a pro at that point. But this is where you guys come in. Let us know what you guys think down below in the comment section. Remember, join the Discord, best community in the universe. Support us at patreon.com/MVPvids. I think it's down below as well. Check out BETUS. The link for our exclusive sign up is down below as well. Get that sign up bonus. And then check us out on Apple, Spotify. You can listen to us if you can't watch on YouTube. I know YouTube's kind of finicky with the downloading unless you're premium. People don't want to play for premium. We're on iTunes and Spotify. You can listen to the car if you can't get YouTube. And then let us know what you think down below. But Dave, I'll be back in a week. This is the time of me where it's like NFL, NBA, NFL, NBA, NFL, NBA. But you and I will be back in 2 weeks. Little spoiler, I know we're 2 weeks away, but could you give the listeners maybe something that's on your mind that's like, this is what I want to talk about at some point?
No.
Ooh, I like it. He doesn't want to give anything away. He doesn't want to give away the secret magic. But thank you guys for watching and listening, and as always, have a good day, everybody. As always, we'd like to thank the people that make these videos possible, our patrons whose names are displayed on the screen now. If you would like to become a patron, go ahead and click the Patreon icon in the bottom right. And if you'd like to check out another video from MVP Sports, hit the video in the upper left. As always, thanks for watching.